Hello, welcome to the channel. My name's Jason. It's a very windy day here in North Carolina. Must be some kind of a weather front coming through. It was raining this morning, but now the clouds are moving on and the wind is blowing. This is my debut YouTube video. It's the first one I've ever made, so I'm sure that there's going to be things in this video that a lot of people said you could do it better. I'm a guy who learns by doing, and that's the reason why I wanted to start a channel. I get into all kinds of messes here at my home. For a business, I run a sawmill. It's a band mill, small sawmill business, and in order to support that business, I have several pieces of equipment, and something's always breaking. And so I love to watch YouTube. There's a lot of great information on YouTube. People take some time to make videos and try to teach people some of the crazy stuff they get into. And hopefully that's kind of what I want to do. I want people to see what life is, working for yourself, trying to make a living on your own, working on your own equipment. It is very rewarding, but it's challenging as well. But I like YouTube for that. I also like YouTube for the entertainment of it. There's a lot of fun stuff to watch, and that's hopefully what people get out of my channel as well. I know some very interesting characters. As time goes on, we will be meeting with them, and I'll bring them in, make videos. People can hear their stories. Where I live at is in Yadkin County, North Carolina, which is right at the foothills of North Carolina. I was actually raised in another county in North Carolina, western North Carolina, in the mountains. And my family has been into the sawmilling business for generations. I'm actually fourth generation, but I don't really want to get into all that today. I'll do another video later that I go into my background and tell more people about that. But today's video is going to be on this. This is my Bobcat 341 excavator, and I've got a little issue with it. I've got a brush cutter that goes on it, and I was doing the job for a guy back a couple months ago, and he had some sapling trees, what we call saplings here, things 1-inch, 2-inch big, and I cut one that was about 4 inches. It cut it fine, no problem with that, but what happened is when it cut it off at the stump, the tree hit the ground and the wind blowed it right back toward the excavator. And when it did, it broke out this glass. And I had glass flying everywhere. It was in my lap. You know, what do you do? So I just kind of kicked it to the side and just the song on the radio was You Can't Keep a Good Man Down by Alabama. I remember that. It was playing, and so I just kept on going. So ever since then, every time it would rain or something, I'd have to cover it up. And I'm getting ready to go do another mowing job tomorrow, and I want to get that fixed. So we're going to get started. I know that first part of the video was kind of dark, and I apologize for that. In order for you to halfway even hear this, I'm having to do this inside of a shed. The wind is blowing so bad today, but I'll do my best. Now I'll show you a little bit about my excavator. This is a 2006 Bobcat 341, and I purchased this excavator about 2.5 years ago, and it has been a great machine. It's got some hours on it. 6,233 and a half hours actually. And I think I just heard some people go, wow. It's not the original engine. It's got a remanufactured engine in it. That's one reason why I bought it. It's got some play in the joints, as to be expected with 6,200 hours on it. but in my opinion, it's not too bad. I've heard people say that they get play in them, they're not worth fixing. Undercarriage gets wore out, it's not worth fixing. Well, to me, a machine this size costs $100,000 plus now, and I can do a lot of fixing for a lot less money than that. But this machine runs like a top, and it's strong. I am surprised how strong it is. I pick up huge logs with it, and I've actually got a grapple to go on the front of it, a rotating grapple, and that will be another video that shows how I've got to do a secondary auxiliary electric over hydraulic to run that grapple, and I'll do a video on that. But it's been a great excavator. When I bought it, the air conditioning and the heat, neither one worked, and I fixed that, put an all new air conditioning system in it, from the compressor to the condenser, all new hoses, evaporator. Well, I didn't do the evaporator, but I did the dryer. That's what I'm trying to say. But I did all that, and it's been a really good machine. Right here, I get a lot of questions from people about my PVC pipe vent. The excavator was supposed to have a vent that bolts to the glass right in this area, and Bobcat no longer makes that. And so the way it would work, it had a square, sorry about that, it had a square connection that connected here. And so the people who had it before me actually had this thing taped off, and they was just getting air out of these two vents. I didn't like it. When I'm a hot-natured guy, I tell people a lot of times my internal thermostat is broken shut, and I get very hot in the summer. So I took a gutter downspout, which is what this is, a black plastic gutter downspout, and I molded it into this part using some JB Welding epoxy. And I did have like a little grill stuck on it where this comes out, but it blows so much air it would blow the grill out. And two, I wanted something that I could direct it when I'm real hot, where it will shine right or face right and blow right into my face. And that seems to do a good job doing that. But like I said, it's an old excavator, runs good, strong, got some play in it. I'm gonna change out bushings and pins one day, and I'll do videos on all that. And but like I tell people, if you can't work on them, don't buy them. So that's enough of that. Here's what we're going to work on today. If you can see, there's no glass here. And like I said, I was sitting in that seat right there, and this tree, give you a different view. This is my view from in here. This tree, when I cut it, it come just like this, just wham, and hit the top of the glass and busted it, and all that glass went right down in my lap, right into the seat. And if you look hard enough, there's probably a steel piece or two. Yeah, just see some right here. See there? There's steel glass in here, and I vacuumed and vacuumed and vacuumed. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to try to get this mess that somebody else had put in there before me. So this has been busted out before, and somebody just made a, well, what we say here in the South, a gum out of it. And somebody's going to say, well, what's a gum? And I can't really tell you, but I can show you, and that's what this is right here. The other thing, I don't know if you can see it, about to fall here. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but the cab is actually bent right there just a little bit. From this point to this point, it looks low right here to me. So I'm going to clean the rest of this glass out, and we're going to put a straight edge across that and just see. I'm thinking that when that tree hit it, it may have bent that just a little bit. Also, it's bent right here. And I definitely didn't do that. That was done before me, and I've noticed that before. But we're gonna get set up, and I'm gonna start cleaning this glass out. Well guys, I know why the wind was blowing so hard now. Look at that cloud. It absolutely came a gully washer for about 45 minutes and hailed and was doing all kinds of things. I was out here in the shed. My big white dog up there, her name's Maya, she's scared of storms. I had her with me the whole time. I think I was more scared than she was. But look at the water running down the ditch. Hey guys, back out here on the excavator glass project. It's been a couple of days since I made the last recording on it. I really apologize, that recording was so dark. This is the first time I've ever used this camera, and like I said in the recording, it was super windy that day, and it actually come a hellacious rainstorm after I made the recording. And another thing that's happened is I've come down with a cold for the last couple of days, and I just ain't had time to work on this anymore, or hadn't felt like it really. But as with everything else here on the ridge, it turned out to be a much harder job than what I originally thought. And part of that is me, and the reason why is I'm really particular when I do my work. I try to do it as perfect as I possibly can. I'm not one of these people who just kind of wires it together with coat hangers and moves on. I'm trying to always do it the very best I possibly can. So what happened, if you remember in the last video, I climbed up and showed you all the glass and glue that was here on top of the cab. Well, I took time and I got all that cleaned out. If you also remember, there was a dent right there. And what was happening is when I laid the glass into the channel, the glass was sticking out from the frame. I could put my finger under it right here. And whoever busted the glass out before had that same problem, because again the cab was dented right there. And so what they did, they just gobbed a bunch of that sealant in this area. And I'll go back and put a picture of what was shown on the last video so you can see the comparison. So what I ended up doing is I tried to straighten that dent. Well, this piece of metal here, when it dented it, I guess it stretched this metal a little bit, because I drilled a hole in the metal here, and this is not sheet metal. This is like, I'd say 14 gauge steel, so it's not like sheet metal on a car. But I drilled a hole through it here, and then I had the boom and I hooked that chain hoist to it, or crank jack I guess you would call it. It's what you tie down a tractor or something on a trailer. And I tightened it up and I pulled that dent out, mostly all I could anyway. And when I did, it wrinkled this, and I couldn't get it out. I took a cutting torch and heated it and tried to compress the steel back. Couldn't get it to do what I wanted it to do. So finally I had to end up cutting it. I cut it out here and I cut it out here. Just took that piece completely out and worked this as straight as I could. Sort of hard to see. It's not perfect, which the paint's a little bit off right there. It kind of makes it look like in the camera that it's bent more than what it really is.
But I welded it back in, ground it off a little bit, welded it back in, got it as straight as I possibly could, and that's as far as I got. So I've got the glass now, and we're going to proceed with trying to get it glued in. Alright, we're test fitting the glass, see how it looks. I did take the time to tint this replacement glass before I'm installing it into the excavator, because this skylight lets in a ton of heat. And even though the air conditioner works good now, the less heat you can keep out by the glass, the even more it's going to cool. There's still some rise right there where the frame is still not matching the glass perfectly. Some of that is the cab, and some of that is this actual piece of glass. It's got a little bit of a bow to it. I mean, not obviously it's bowed this way, but it's actually warped, and that's from manufacturing. It's nothing that I did. So from what it was, I think that's pretty good. Some of that will pull out, not all of it, but some of it will. But before, I could actually push my finger completely up under the other piece of glass, and I can't on this one. So I think we got that looking fairly decent right there where that dent was, and I pulled it out the best I can. So we'll start gluing it in. Going back to this dent that I pulled out right here, I had to drill a hole through that. So I made a special tool, and all this is a bolt with a chain welded to it on two sides with a loop of chain on it. And the bolt, I put it through the hole, tightened the nut up on the back, and then I had something to hook the chain into. And once I pulled the dent out, I took the welder and just welded it back up, ground it down flush, and I think it looks pretty good. Okay, I went ahead and trimmed back the tint that I added to this, back to this black stripe, edge of this black stripe all the way around it, and that's where the adhesive goes. And like I said, people on the Amazon reviews said this stuff was really, really thick. So we're going to see how it goes, and I can see that it's pretty thick, but it's not like non-doable. Just got to take time. Apply a good even bead all the way around it. It's about like tar. If you don't have much grip strength, though, I can tell this would be pretty hard to do. There's half of it, basically. just cut a bigger end on that. We'll see if that helps it come out a little easier. It's still pretty tough. Must be some good stuff. Let my right hand rest a second. This caulk gun is probably 30 years old. I can't believe I can still find it. I had it when I was a kid. Yeah, my tubes, the sealant must be cooling down some. It's starting to come out more in a blob than in a bead, but we're about to get there. One little edge down this side and we'll have it. Alright. Time to go set it in place. Hope I don't drop it going up the dang ladder. What I don't want to do is get that dang sealant all over the face of the glass. So I'm going to go ahead and pull my gloves off. Got a little bit up here on top of the excavator. I'm going to try to wipe it off just a little bit. This glove so it don't get all over me. Now what you can't see, I don't think, I've got a roll of blue masking tape. And I'm going to tape the top. Basically all that's going to do is just hold it in place, just to keep it from sliding off. Just to hold it from sliding down, hitting the ground. Alright, I'll put another one or two on it. Now I'm bringing you guys back up here on top with me where I've got it taped off. I got a little bit on the cab right there. I'll take some lacquer thinner and probably get that off. But now I'm going to take these clamps and I'm going to clamp this front edge down and see what we get into down here. Alright, all well so far. I've got it clamped down here in the front. The only problem is we've got a little bit of a sunroof effect here. It's gapped up about an inch in the back. So either the glass is a little bit different or the cab's different, or it's supposed to be like that and you're supposed to make it work. So I'm gonna go with number 3 and make it work. Now what we have here is redneck engineering at its finest. But hey, whatever works. What I did, I started off by trying to find something real heavy. I got that big piece of 1-inch plate steel that I built for another project. I'll tell you about that some other time. And I had a slip clutch off of a bush hog, which is heavy as can be. And I laid that orange rubber mat, which is actually an insulator mat that the power company uses. They throw over lines, and it's real thick, wouldn't scratch the glass. I laid that on top of the glass and laid all that heavy steel up there, and it still wouldn't lay it down. So I got a bunch of these Bessie clamps, by far the best wood clamp I ever used, and I clamped it to the side of the excavator. And the white piece that you see there is actually mini blind slats. They make excellent shims. So if you're ever installing mini blinds and you need to cut your blind down, save the slats out of it, because it makes really, really good shims. I keep all that. Anyway, I shimmed it under the bar of that clamp, and it's holding it down good and tight up there. On the other side, I've got it clamped down with a bunch of bar clamps and quick grip clamps, just anything I could find. Now there is if you can see it, there's still just a little gap right there between the frame and the bottom of the glass. That's not open all the way through. That's just where you're seeing the bottom of the glass. The adhesive's starting to squeeze out. You can see it right there. And I don't mind if there's a little gap right there, because what I intend to do is go around that gap with black silicone. This adhesive stuff is so thick that if I put it around there, it'd just make a mess like it was before. And the adhesive's job is to glue the glass to the cap, not to really seal it out, I guess. Well, it does seal it out, but black silicone would be a lot easier to apply and would last for years and years and years, so I'm not really worried about that. But so far so good. We'll give it a day, or overnight anyway, and let it cure out and take the clamps off and see if it jumps off on the ground and breaks when I turn it loose. Well guys, we're here the next day at the excavator. We have let that adhesive set on that glass for approximately 20 hours, and I'm getting ready to take the clamps off, so let's see what happens. I'm hoping these clamps don't let the glass jump completely off the excavator and break. I don't think it will, but that's one bad thing about these quick grip clamps. You can't let them off easy. It's just all or nothing. Well, that one wasn't hardly on there anyway. Well, so far so good. It came up just a hair right there, but nothing major. Uh-oh, I hear it popping. Yep, it didn't hold it. Well, I'm gonna have to think of something else. I might have an idea though. Let's see what happens right here. I wanted to let these off first. My thought process on this, the most important part of this glass is up here at the top and down the sides. If you think about it, if you've got it sealed here and here good with some kind of sealant, in theory you don't even really need nothing down here. I mean, if it was raining really, really hard and it happened to run under right there, I guess it could leak, but in theory you don't really need anything down through there. But I got some black silicone that I was going to seal it up here and across the top just to make sure that it's sealed real good. So I think what I'll do is get in here and just clean this up right here, the sealant that didn't stick. Once I take this clamp off up here, we'll see what happens. It should have stuck good up here. It's just where that glass was bowed so hard against the excavator frame, and it actually stuck right there. So I guess the cab is still warped a little bit. You can see how I can push that glass down like that. I'm just gonna come in here and shoot some black silicone up in there and rub it out as neat as I can with my finger. That's kind of how the people had it done before I did it. So we'll see how it works. Okay, I just pulled that clamp off the top and it's sealed really well. It is tight all the way down the sides, all the way across the top. I mean, it's really sealed well. It's just right there, and I'm sure that that's probably because the cab still has a little bit of warpage to it. It's not a big deal. Like I said, it's an old excavator, and it probably would be better. Almost looks like a crack on the inside there, but I don't think it is. It would probably be better if it didn't bind real tight, because anybody that has ran one of these things, they bounce like crazy and bang and carry on. So if anything was in a bind, it would eventually come off. It is a little bit non-sealed right there, but I'm gonna fix it with some silicone. All right, the silicone I'm going to use, I just picked it up at Lowe's last night. It's GE Advanced Silicone. That's at 40% more flexibility and 5 times stronger adhesive. All that's great, but that's the main thing right there. 100% silicone. And I've actually glued warped countertops down with this stuff before, and it held it. So thinking about it, looking back up there from the ground, you can sort of see how that glass, the gap between the bottom of the glass and the excavator, is a lot wider on this side. Over here it actually stuck. It's just where it's cocked up right there. And if you remember, I said that glass was warped, so that could be working against me. But I think what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna shoot some of this silicone up in there and seal it up well and put another clamp on it and just see what happens. I have a hand to hold the phone, and I've actually got me a magnetic phone holder ordered, so when it gets here I'll be able to do that and show the video as well. The silicone that's up on the edge of the excavator, like right here, I'm not really worried about that. Once it dries, I can take a razor knife and cut that off and straighten it out. I got most of it off the glass, but again, once it dries, I can get it off with a razor knife or some lacquer thinner, like right here where it's gapped out so far. I'll clean all that up. Probably I'm gonna come back and do a second application of silicone up in there and try to build it out as far as I can. But I basically just shot it in there and took my finger and just sort of went around it like that. And it's already starting to dry, so the more I'm messing with it, the more it's messing it up. So I'm gonna stop right there. But we'll see. It's pretty warm today, so it's gonna dry in a hurry, so we'll see what happens. One thing that I have noticed, when you use caulk tubes or something and you know you're not out of caulking and you're wanting to save it for another day, I've used wire nuts, screwed them on. I've just let it dry before and then stick a screw down in there and try to gouge it out. But I kind of like doing this now. Just take some electrical tape, and I've got my knee holding against the caulk gun, try to show you this, which is not working. But we'll get it here in a second. But just take some electrical tape and wrap the end of the tube. All right, we're back out here at the excavator today, and we've let that silicone set up overnight. So let's take this off and see how it held. Look at that. That silicone held it better than that window adhesive. It's stuck right in there. So I think what I'll do is I'll go around and clean as much of this old off as I can. And I need to go around and put another bead right in here where I had the clamps. It was kind of hard to get to, and clean it up a little bit, and we'll take a look at it and see how it looks then. One thing I did yesterday, I screwed up. I was in here with a razor knife trying to clean this up, and I stuck the knife down in there and I scratched the back of that glass where that black part is on the glass. You can see it right there. So that was my screw up. I did that, but when you get down here, you know, you can't even really hardly see it anyway. So it's just an old excavator, and as long as it don't leak and knock some of the sun out of my face, that's really all I can ask for. Just trying to clean some of that old adhesive off to make it look a little bit better, but I'm trying not to peel my window tint up either. Sort of tricky. I went around and scraped as much as that original adhesive that squirted out of that track at the bottom as I could. I'm not worrying about it up above the door yet. When I shut the door, I'll look at it. It's right here is where I want to put a little bit of that black silicone, so we'll see how that looks. I got another place back here on the back glass where somebody replaced it at one time, and it has come unsealed. So I'm gonna use some of that silicone to seal it up. You know, some days I'm my own worst enemy. It just blows me away sometimes. This glass in the back of the excavator has been replaced, and they replaced it with something that's not factory. You know, you can look around the edge right there and tell it's not factory. And it had come apart down here at the cab, so I sealed it up the edge, clamped the clamp across it, and took a wedge and just kind of gently just tapped it in there, and to sort of push it against the cab. That worked great. Well, when I got over here on the other side, I had a little issue. I tapped it in, I heard something. I wasn't sure what it was until I started looking. It cracked the dang glass. So evidently, there was some kind of a little defect or something in that glass right there that when, I mean, and it's actually, it pushed it in. So you can see my finger. I don't know if you can see it wiggling it or not, but I'm pushing it in close to an 1/8 inch right there. So it didn't take hardly anything to push it in, and it just cracked. So I'm not worrying about it right now. I gotta get this machine back on a job, but sometime in the future I will be replacing a glass on the rear of this excavator, and when I replace it, I'll be replacing it with a factory version. It's supposed to have one of those safety glasses in the back of it, so if you turn the machine over on the door or something, you can pull a lever and the glass comes out of it. And I'm 99.999% sure that's not what that is. So that's another video, another day. Well guys, I got the excavator top glass done. Sorry, it's the sun's shining in pretty bad right now. It's hard to see, but I wanted to give you a final view of it. This is all on the inside. And then this is how the outside turned out. I'm pretty happy with it considering what it looked like before. It doesn't leak because we got a dab lame frog choker the other day of a rain, and man, gosh, it come down, but it didn't leak. I've been cleaning the front glass here just a few minutes, but I got the trim back on, and you can't even tell they ever cut the cap. I mean, I cut a notch 5 inches out of that between the door glass and the top glass, and I think it turned out pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with it. But then again, there's always something else to be fixed. Looks like I need to wash that glass down there. It's getting nasty. One thing I ain't figured out, on the inside of this door, I don't know if the phone can pick that little place up right there at my finger, but the door was really rough on the inside, and I took a razor blade and scraped it, and it's all little nicks inside the glass of the excavator. I mean, right there's one, and there's one. They're everywhere. There. And I don't understand how it got inside the glass, because when you open this glass up, you know, it folds up and goes in like that. So something's had to like fly up this way and hit it. I don't get it, but whatever. But again, this was my first YouTube video. I am very, very green at this, so don't crucify me too much. I'm just trying to get started. But if you like this video, please hit subscribe and give it a thumbs up, and I'd really appreciate it. And there'll be more to come. Have a great day. Thanks.